You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam and I'm your host, and today's episode will be brought to you after these words from our sponsors.
Hey, are you tired of lugging around that giant riot shield? Sick of the risk of walking into something noisy or getting hung up in a tight corner? Why don't you try the Ursabek Variable Energy Shield? It wears like a bracer and has two main settings to better tailor to your style. This and other custom creations are to be found at the sign of the ship, Amp's Revenge, all along the Hydean Way.
Welcome back, everybody. So, as I say, I'm Adam, I'm your host and the GM for Season 3, The Coldfire Chronicles. Our players are...
Hi, I'm Ross. I'm playing Agatha, a Marialan warrior aggressor, whose emotional strength is his pride, but whose weakness is his anger.
Hi, my name is Ed Fortune. My character is called Oberon Brick. He is a human seeker hunter. His emotional strength is his justice, and his emotional weakness is his cruelty.
Hi, I'm Mim. I'm playing Larsa. She's a human sentinel artisan. Her emotional strength is her curiosity, but her weakness is her obsession.
Hello, I am Jiren. I am played by Mikey. I am a Chius Mystic Advisor, and my emotional strength is my enthusiasm, and my other emotional strength is my recklessness.
And before we start today's adventure, let's have a question from our characters.
Oberon, so, why do you go hunting? What is hunting for?
To bring people together. To put oneself in one's place in the universe. To understand what one is.
So it's all about trust then?
Yes.
I need to trust you, and you need to trust me, and we need to trust Agatha, and Lasso will also be there.
Something like that. Some of my happiest days have been spent hunting with my family, and also at Imperial College.
Well, you have a strange family. I have a strange family. Remind me never to tell you about them.
Good point, yes. Maybe let's not compare family albums.
We start this episode in the clearing. The hunt has just ended for the time being. One of the large lizards has been taken down by Oberon and is on the far side of the clearing. The second lizard has been brought down by the group effort of all of our protagonists, with the exception of Jaren, who's strolling over. Oberon is on the floor on his back a few feet away. Agatha is still riding the corpse of the lizard, having just brought it down with a mighty blow from his shot gauntlets, and Lasser is standing next to it looking horrified, having accidentally shot Oberon in attempting to save Agatha's life.
But that's not what I'm horrified about.
And we join our heroes.
Lassa is clearly not happy with this. She is fuming and very sad. This is a wretched anger with hints of disappointment, which is being thrown at everybody.
Oberon gets up, goes over to Agatha, embraces Agatha, providing that Agatha's okay with that.
Agatha at this point is probably going to grab a stim pack and start using it on himself, because that was difficult.
And as I pull you close, I say, I've realised what's wrong. And I mouth to Larsa, something's very wrong, but I mouth it.
Agatha has no such restrictions on himself at the moment, but...
From the far side of the clearing, Steve, the protocol droid who brought you out of here, claps his hands. Now that's what we call a hunt. Some fine trophies there for you, my friends. Do you want to keep on going, or do you want to take these back and get them to our taxidermist?
Steve, can I ask a very important question?
You fire away, sir. You're the customer.
Was that a breeding pair?
I don't know. I ain't checked them. We can't hunt breed in pairs. That way you depopulate your prey.
How many people have you brought this way?
This way? You're the first today. Wink. When I say wink, I should emphasise that he doesn't go wink, but the light in his right eye dims and then goes back up to simulate a Discworld-style wink.
How many times a week would you bring people around this way?
Oh, round a week. 7 or 8 times a week. Depends on what people want to pay for. Depends what they're hunting for. Customer sets the goal. I just take him to the right place.
We'd like to go home now.
Well, sure. You want me to bring a harvest sled over for your trophies?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Righto. Well, gather yourselves up and let's mose it back to Port Haven.
Oh wait, I'm terribly sorry. Did you boys not want a lovely fine rug? Because there's 2 of them over there. A couple of them might have a few holes, but minor damage, you know. And once you've washed our own blood off of them, they'll be absolutely beautiful on the ship floor.
Oh, don't you worry about those holes. Our taxidermist can repair all that damage without a problem. All part of the service for a small extra charge. Oink.
Lasser's going to shoot Steve.
Okay.
What difficulty is that?
That is 1 purple. I'm going to spend a dark side point to upgrade that to 1 red and also to give you a dark side point back. But I am going to give you a boost die because you've got the drop on him. He was not expecting this.
So 2 green, 1 red, 1 blue. No success, but 3 advantages.
Okay.
Annoyingly.
So your bolt whistles past him over his shoulder. He looks a bit surprised. What would you like your advantages to be? Maybe a blue die when we roll initiative as we're just about to do?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because I think we've pretty much got to.
It's going to have to be, isn't
Lesser, this is a cool test for you. For everyone else, it's vigilance because this came out of the blue.
I've been waiting for this to happen since we started.
Yeah, but
Well, that's why we were here.
different situation though. So, round to the top of initiatives then. I presume Lasser's going to take this slot?
it? Lasser would like to keep going. She's incredibly angry and she's just going to try and shoot him again.
The difficulty is 1 purple, but again, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to spend a dark side point to give you 1 back into your team, so it's 1 red is your difficulty.
Oh, joy. Thank you.
You're welcome. For the listeners at home, as we started this episode, the tally was 6 dark side to me and no light side points, so, I'm not being too horrible. I mean, I'm being a bit horrible.
7-0.
7-0. It's 7-0. So, yeah, I'm being a bit horrible, but yeah, I forgot how to maths. Being a little bit horrible, but not as horrible as I could be.
That's just 2 success.
That's enough to hit, so that's 7 damage because of your weapon in total, isn't it?
Cool, lovely, yep. I'm not expecting anyone to jump in and help me. I am purely focused on this droid, using it to take out all my aggression.
Okay, so yeah, you blast a hole into Steve, scoring his paintwork and charring across his ribs. Steve, suddenly his whole demeanour changes. The colour of his eyes goes from like a white to a dark red. He starts taking steps back from you, drawing both pistols as he does, and opens a fusillade of fire at you. Now, little lady, that ain't part of the protocol. I'm going to spend a dark side point to upgrade. That is, you're quite lucky, only 6 points of damage as only 1 of the hail of blaster bolts he's firing at you from his 2 pistols hits home as he's backing away into the jungle.
Cool, my soak's 3, so that's just 3 damage for me then.
Yep, he's moved now back to medium range as his manoeuvre is moving away. And what has also started happening is kind of the camouflage patterning that's on him has started to shift, making him much more difficult to see. It's not quite full, like Predator-style chameleon, but his edges are definitely blurring and he's taking on a lot more of the colours of the jungle and canopy around him. Next player character.
Oberon would like to take the next shot.
Okay.
He's visibly very angry.
Yep.
And he says with gritted teeth, breeding pairs, as if someone had just insulted his mother. Like, he is furious because they are rules and they've been broken, which is probably going to upset Lasser even further.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, 1 success, 3 advantage.
Okay.
So I believe that's a trip to crit train.
So 10 damage and a crit.
Paul.
0-4.
Yeah.
Okay, he just takes a strain. Next player character.
I can't fight droids, go on.
Why not?
Because I have no weapons and I only affect things that can be affected by the Force. Off you go.
Okay, right. First, I'm going to make clear that I have used a stim pack while this argument was going on.
Yep.
So I'm recovering a number of
5 wounds.
Yeah, but in order to make sure he doesn't get away at this point, Agatha's going to leap at him. Not going to terrify him because he's a draw. Well, you can still start off.
He is immune to fearsome.
It's not going to stop Agatha from trying, but because Agatha's not going to think,
Yeah,
this isn't
it's-
going to work
it's
on
all
this.
part of
But-
his-
Yeah,
of Agatha's
but
charm.
he's going to, instead of jumping at him and trying to just dismember him straight in there, his intention is to grab him and chuck him back into the middle of the clearing so that the rest can get a clear shot.
So, manoeuvre to get to short range, 2 strain from manoeuvre to get to engaged, and then an athletics or a brawl test to grab and hurl.
I will brawl to... Well, no, it sounds more athletic.
It's probably more athletics because
Yeah.
you're hurling him back
Yeah.
into the group. We will interpret the dice as they fall.
Yeah, so it's grabbing by whichever limb's nearest when he gets there.
He's got both his arms out holding pistols. So
Okay,
his
he's going
arms.
to grab one of those and throw him back.
Difficulty is 2 purple, but again, I'm going to spend a dark side to upgrade that to a purple and red.
Okay. I mean, Agatha's sort of tied at this point, so I'm not going to try and upgrade anything at this point, just because his life was on the line a minute ago. This is for the other 2. I have 1 success, 1 advantage, and a dark side point, which I'm not going to use.
Okay, I'll say that's enough to grab him. It's not going to be enough to hurl him back into the group.
Okay.
But I'll say that and the advantage is enough to grab him and hold him in place. If he wants to get away from you, he's got to do something forceful to get away from you.
Right, okay.
You're certainly holding him in place. And given that there is at least Jaren and then a fresh PC to go.
Yeah, he's not getting away for the moment.
Jaren?
I'm a medium range from him at the moment.
You
and
are,
I
yes.
Start walking forwards. I'm separating myself from the group a little bit because he's a protocol droid and I haven't done anything aggressive towards him. So I'm going to try and confuse the heck out of him by being completely disarming. Just start talking absolute charm offensive. It's been a wonderful time here. And, just basically to...
Okay, make me a charm test. I think the difficulty is going to be... I think I'm going to make the difficulty 1 red, 1 purple, and a setback die, because there's only so much a scrambling him's going to do at this moment in time.
Yeah, I understand. He ignores the setback dice because of who he is. So a red and a purple?
Yep.
So that is 4 successes and 1 threat. So 4 successes maybe to distract him a little bit from the combat that's going on.
Yep.
But the threat maybe I've distracted him from the combat that's going on. And now I'm in the way.
Well, Agatha's right on top of him, so what I might actually do is be a bit boring and say that that is a strain.
Yeah, that's fine.
Actually, I think just because Agatha is a clear and present threat
Yeah,
right
no
in
worries.
his face. But what it will do is when Steve goes, I think I'm going to upgrade his dice pool to reflect that, the fact that he's being boggled by it all. And
Yeah, it wouldn't work on a human, but he's not a human. He's a
protocol
droid.
droid, yeah.
So, you know.
So, back round to the top, first player slot.
I'd like to go first with Lasser, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
He moved to medium distance from me.
He's medium distance from you, and he has an Agatha holding him in place.
If I spend 1 manoeuvre to move in and a second strain to get properly engaged, can I use my mental tools, which is a force talent, which means I always count as having the right tool for the job? I knew we were coming here for droids, to be able to deactivate him since he's being held down.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'm going to go in.
Make me a mechanics test.
Cool, let's have a go at
But
this.
the difficulty is going to be 1 red, 1 purple, because essentially you're substituting mechanics for an attack, and I think that it still needs to reflect that for me, I think.
That's fine.
Light side points?
I could go all out and use a light side point
Do it.
to change my final green into a yellow, which I am going to do because she is pulling on everything she's got right now.
Okay.
So 1 purple, 1 red, that becomes 3 yellow dice.
Okay.
That's just 2 success overall.
Okay, but combining that with the confusion that Jaren has put into its protocols, combining that with Agatha holding it in place, I'm going to say that's enough. You get in there and you shut him down, and the light goes out of his eyes, and he goes completely rigid. Agatha, with a strong grip on each of his forearms, pistols remain in his hands because they're not a biological being. He's not going to relax that death grip just because he's turned off. But yes, shuts down hard.
That wipes the smile off your face.
Or rather locks it in place for the moment.
He doesn't really have a smile at all. But I don't know why she seems to get the impression that he might be inwardly smiling, grinning maniacally.
Oberon looks absolutely crestfallen. And up to this point he had a look of glee, and now he looks absolutely crestfallen. Okay, right.
The sound of the wildlife around the jungle starts coming back.
So they're taking people out, drawing them into traps. There's traps everywhere around this clearing. And then they're driving mating pairs into people.
Now you're looking around, having had chance to catch your breath, and I presume having a look back at these traps that had got you, because you've not moved from the centre of the clearing. There are bones underneath the overgrown grass here around some of these traps.
This is murder. This is flat out murder. There's a difference between going out, putting oneself in touch with nature, learning one's understanding of the chain, understanding one's place in the universe, realising how small one is, and then there's being led to the slaughter. I don't just mean people, I mean creatures as well. Before you start, because we're all one.
If they're driving animals at us, are there people still out there driving who just drove these animals towards us right now?
No, they're using the creature's instincts. They're using the creatures being the creatures, but rather than... You don't hunt mating pairs, and one of the reasons you don't hunt mating pairs is it's bad for the ecosystem, but it's also bad for people, because mating pairs will fight to the death.
As should anything that has got something unwarrantly attacking it.
Things attack other things. I'm gonna take a dew claw to remind myself about trust. I don't care if you don't approve. I don't care at all. It's going to be a reminder for myself. Do you want one as well? It's your kill. It's up to you.
Agatha doesn't need trophies. I mean, he's going to mark himself with the trophies later on.
He goes and I take the smallest claw.
Yep.
And it's the smallest claw.
Yeah.
And I take it so it's not an impressive thing as a reminder. And I'm assuming I'm having eyes. You just discussed, yeah.
Absolute disgust. Not saying anything. Lasser is just going to look at the droid.
What are we going to do with the droid?
I would like you to take its arms and legs off and then take its core bit back to we can plug it in and find out what's going on. See if this goes bigger. See if this is the only thing that's going out here.
You ought to be able to just take its head off, I think.
Well, you're the engineer.
If we only take its head back, that's going to work anyway, isn't it? We don't need to take the rest of it back.
Yeah.
I can have a look on the inside and see if there's anything connected, any additional process that have been added in strange places, but most of the time the main information is stuck in its head. So if I remove it from the rest of the unit, that'll be a lot easier to carry. Unless you don't mind carrying it all back, we can take it all back. It might be a bit more noticeable.
Yeah, I don't want to take it all back.
I'm happy to carry the head. I'm happy to take the blame. If the blame falls on anyone, it should fall on me.
I'll take the head, Oberon. Someone needs to be able to play the role of a very successful and happy hunter who's had a marvellous day out.
Can you get these guns out of its hands as well?
I can probably do that. Are they connected to it, as in it's built in? They are just separate?
Yeah, it just drew them very fluidly and is holding them in its hands. It's not like they're wired in.
I can either cut off the hands or just slice through the fingers and it'll drop them.
No, I need the guns.
If we disconnected its hands, could it, if you work its hands remotely, is that a thing it can do when the head switch gets switched on?
No.
Okay.
Certainly not at the range we're going to turn the head on.
What I'd allow, Lasser, is if you want to make an easy mechanics test, so a single purple, that will be enough to take its head off and disconnect the grippers, and it's not a complex procedure for you.
That's fine. So that's 2 successes and a triumph.
Yeah, so absolutely not a problem. You managed to disconnect everything.
Adam,
yes.
Whilst I take the tiny claw, I'd like to roll my 4C power, please.
Okay.
Oberon, as before, Oberon's trying to find his place.
Yep.
And that's dark side point, which I won't take.
Yeah, clearly the emotions here are just running too high. There is so much anger and disapproval washing out from Lasser, and so much aggression washing out from Agatha, that it's just muddying the pool far too much for you to get a clear picture.
And there's also lots and lots of dead people here, so it's probably quite strong on the dark side.
Yeah.
Do I get the guns?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take it's on like a bandolier gun belt that just unhooks.
He takes all of them and then he presents them to Oberon. Says, "This will be a better reminder."
Yes, that's a very good point, actually. Thank you. And more useful and more practical.
Less covered in blood, too.
Did you see what I did with the little things though? I calmed them all down and made them all my brood. It was amazing.
That's a clever trick.
And they weren't in pain. Not like your friend in the garage where I made him bleed. It was.
No, that's true. That's true, Jerome.
They snuggled up to you. Did you see? It was. I think I can use powers for good.
I'm starting to understand what this. It's not a blessing and it's not a curse, but what this thing is that we have is what it's about, where it puts us in the universe. And I'm very worried that it sets us apart. Because as soon as people start setting themselves apart from others, that's where you get problems.
Oberon, you are a man of privilege and
Yes.
wealth. You've always been set apart from everybody.
Yes, and that's my problem.
It should not change anything. Just add this to your list of things that set you apart. It's fine.
I don't think you're right, but I don't know how to explain how you're wrong.
It's how I live my life. He smiles. It is a shame we had to actually fight these things. I thought we were here to uncover a mystery and get some wealth.
Unfortunately, to uncover what was happening, we ended up in a trap.
I think I probably need a gun at some point.
You need to learn how to use a gun, and when.
Mostly I just point it at people and they do what I tell them.
Shall we get back to the ship?
Yeah.
No, we can't go yet. You said they're a breeding pair, didn't you?
We need to find the young. You're quite right. At least we need to make sure that the nest is secure. It's going to take an extra couple of hours at least.
Well, I've got nothing else that needs doing right now.
Can I make a tracking roll, please?
Yes, you may. Survival. 2 purple, I think. Normal difficulty.
Unless the rest of the party says no, I'd like to spend a light side point because it seems appropriate.
Yeah, let's give him more ammunition. Good plan.
Yeah.
So it's a failure with 1 threat and 1 triumph.
What does this mean? We get the sad end?
No. You hunt around for a while. You use all of the survival knowledge and the tracking skills that you have, and you cannot find a nest for these creatures. Either they range too far out, which doesn't seem likely, or there's something else going on. And what you kind of come to realise, it does take you, your threat is indeed that it takes you quite a while and night is starting to fall. And what you come to realise is you are just not going to find this nest. But that does mean that no one else will either. I think, if you're happy with your triumph going towards that.
I find enough sign that their young is around here somewhere,
Yep.
but they've learned to stay away.
Yes, and are sufficiently well hidden that they're not going to be stumbled upon by any other hunters.
So I carefully explain this to the party, and I'm like, this means that they're around. If we go any further, if we try and find them, we're going to imperil them. The more we interfere at this point, the more likely it is that we're going to put them in danger. But they appear to be alive and well, because they're chomping away on these things, and they're chomping away on those things, and that's their spore. And it's a little spore, so it's got to be the little ones. But if we go any further, if we hunt further, we could make things worse.
Okay, so we should go back then,
So we should go back, so they're okay, but we must now not interfere.
because it is getting dark.
It is getting dark.
And I didn't bring any rations
I did, it's okay, you can have some of mine.
or water
I brought some water as well, you can have some of my water.
or weapons.
I have a weapon as well, if you need it, let me know.
You came well prepared.
I think so.
All right, as we go back, if we come across any more traps, I'd like to stop and disarm them, just to make it a little bit fair around here.
Yeah, I'll allow that. I'm not going to make you roll. It can just be part of the abstracted making your way back towards town.
The head goes in a bag, by the way.
Yep, that's fine. You're making your way out. You've managed to find a few more traps and a few more locations where it looks like the same kind of scam is going on. And as you're coming back up to Port Haven, I would like an underworld test from Jaren and Agatha as the people most in touch with that sort of thing. The difficulty is a single purple.
1 success, 1 threat.
2 successes, 2 advantages.
Since you're both successful, what I will give you is this. Port Haven is a shadow port. That means there are no rules here. There are no particular laws. There's only the things that are enforced by the cartel that run the shadow port. This is an independent one as well. It's not run by the huts. It's run by a consortium of various interests, of which you are pretty sure that Hawker is one. What that really comes down to is, it's not a tourist destination. This is where criminals come to hide from imperial interest, to smuggle, to broker, to trade goods. If people are stupid enough to trust random droids or random organisations and go out in the jungle and get killed, no one is going to care because they have chosen poorly in life.
We sure did.
So there's not really anyone who you can report this to in Port Haven who will give a criff, quite frankly, because it's not costing them business. It's not a tourist location, despite some of the promotional material they put out. I mean, you get some marks who come here for hunting tourism or for a walk on the wild side, but quite frankly, that's a feeding frenzy for the sharks. It's all about who can get the most credits out of them before they are inevitably killed by their own life choices. There's not really anyone, probably even Hawker, that you can go back to in Port Haven once you get back and go, oh, by the way, these droids are running a bad scam and they kill me. Because what you'll get is, well, you survived. Well done. You're clearly better than that scam.
Don't worry, that's not the intention.
No, it's just so that you're aware, because I know there was I know from Lasser certainly that there would probably be this is outrageous, who do I report this to? And it's just teeing you up for that conversation.
Yes,
that
fine.
really, that there's no one that's going to give a criff. You were lucky. Because certainly when you were watching yesterday, Oberon, the people that were going out here were like drunk spacers or, you know, pirates all hepped up on their own bravado, wanting a challenge. It wasn't like, you know...
Actual hunters.
Actual hunters, yeah.
Okay, what I'd like to know, though, is if this droid is... if there's lots and lots of different smaller companies...
Yes.
Or there's just one big company that has lots of droids that are...
From the sign you've been able to see...
Yeah.
There is probably one larger offshoot, and
Yes.
this is how they make their money out
Right.
of people who come here.
That's fine.
So he might be missed,
Yeah.
but I suppose it's also that there is the perils of the job, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
That's why they use droids.
that we can work with.
Yeah, that you can work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is probably one of the various consortium leaders who this is their sideline. Agatha, for your threat...
I'm going to ask, is anyone getting annoyed with us that we destroyed their droid, or is that a sort of an acceptable part of they've run this business anyway?
As long as you don't flaunt it, it's just an acceptable risk of this price of business, and it's why they use droids. Your threat I'm going to pocket.
Okay.
And I'm going to bring that into play later, I think.
I think if I can use my advantage to actually get us back to the ship.
Yep, that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, you find another way, basically, rather than the door you came in on, you find one close. Because your landing pad is in the jungle. It's just that you head there rather than back into Port Haven.
Yeah.
You just go straight to your vessel.
Okay.
When you get to the vessel, it is now night. The huge kind of flying aziodactyl things are now giving out their night chorus and filling the air above. The cargo ramp for Coldfire's Mercy is down, and there are a couple of lifter droids who are moving some cases on from a pallet. At the foot of the ramp, there is Prinkle, still with his broom kind of over his shoulder, like perpendicular over his shoulder with his arms over each side of it and his hands hanging down. And he's talking to a small droid. It's very short, it's three-legged, it's almost like the T3 style kind of dog-shaped one. It's got one leg that kind of juts back, it's got a little round head, like a disc head, little lights flashing on the top of it. They are engaged in some form of conversation. They haven't noticed you because you're coming in from the jungle and it's dark on the far side of the ship, essentially.
Well, I'm never one to be very quiet. Arms go out wide, and Prinkle, we are returned.
Oh, it's so good to see you, my friends. I was starting to get worried. I mean, you said you'd only be a few hours, and it's been almost the entire day. Agatha, you are bloody. What has happened here? What is going on?
I led my friends into a death trap and we survived with our lives.
Oh, I don't think you're that good a friend, if you don't mind me saying so.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate all you've done for me so far, but if that is what it means to be your friend, I'm happy to be an acquaintance.
I understand that, Frinkle. It's a lesson I needed to learn, unfortunately. Luckily, we're all okay.
Okay. This is T3GGR, or Tugger. He has been provided by Harker to be our navicomp and our assistants.
The astromech kind of turns around and goes, "Moo, moo, 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 moo."
Oh, it's lovely to meet you too, my sweet.
Moo, moo.
Mm-hmm.
Moo, moo, moo. And it rolls over, and a little tiny arm pops out the side of it with a little manipulator claw that it holds out to shake.
I shake its little robot paw.
It's good to have old-fashioned, good, solid materials here. Have you met the computer on the ship yet?
Moo, 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 moo.
Oh, I have no idea.
Then we've got to introduce you. It's all right, you're going to be working together a lot.
Moo, moo, moo. Moo, 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 moo. Moo, 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 moo.
Fantastic. I'll show you where you can dock yourself when you're not in use as well.
Moo, moo, moo.
I'm going to poddle off and introduce it to the ship's computer and get it incorporated as the navigational computer then.
Tugger follows you up onto the commander. You notice that as you're heading on, there are a few pallets been put in the cargo bay area of the vessel and are being secured with maglocks, but not many, just one or two at the moment.
Yeah.
What they have done, though, Lasser, is they have installed an astromech dock on the command bridge. There wasn't one previously, and while you've been away, someone's put that in your ship.
There's a bit of shock. It's like, oh, it's lovely. You just got to check the wiring, though. So she's appreciative, but just wants to double check it.
Yes, they came to fit it so that Tugger would have somewhere to charge and to connect to the Navi computer. And I was going to wait for you, but they just scowled at me and said, "It's your dime. If you want to all hook at even more money and waste my time and come back tomorrow, then we will do that. That's fine. Or we can do it now, and Lassa can check it over when she gets back in."
Well, where's the bits that they took out? Have they still got them? Are they here?
They were going to throw them away. So I collected them in my big bag, and I have hidden them in the engineering room for you.
Oh, nothing better than a bag of bits.
I can't remember where in the engineering room I've hidden them for you, but it could be a Life Day gift. It's a Life Day gift that is hidden away for you in your engineering room.
Oh, it's the thought that counts, isn't it?
Prinkle, is there
my
a
friend.
data slate to say what we have here?
No? Should there be?
Well, you want to know what things we have?
Well, there is more to come tomorrow. This was only like the start, because most of the day today was spent sorting out the astromech dock for Tugger. He will know.
Tugger's like, "Moo, moo, 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 moo.
Oh, all right, yes, if I can get a downloaded inventory, that'd be lovely.
Moo, 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 moo." And once he's connected in, he transfers. This is foodstuffs. It's dried food, it's water supplies, it's rations. This actually looks more like it's food for yourselves for the journey there and back, rather than the main rebels. It's that sort of stuff, and uniform and clothing. It's quality of life essentials for the running of a vessel, rather than the proper cargo that you're due to take. On the manifest, what's in the crates that are due for delivery tomorrow is what you might expect. There's a lot of euphemistically named items such as machine parts and cold weather survival options. Reading between the lines, it's blaster rifles, blaster pistols, some body armour, and an awful lot of long-term food supplies. Freeze-dried rations, power cells, that sort of stuff. Some reinforced armour, jumpsuits, comms equipment. It's the sort of things that you would expect a rebel cell to need.
What probably surprises Lasser is that not only was Jiren interested in what the manifests were, when the data slate comes out, he says, "Can I go through? You're busy with engineering, give it here."
Yeah, of course. There you go.
And then he actually spends the time to go through everything they've got, making sure everything's right, opening the crates, making sure we're not being scammed.
Well, the only thing that's arrived so far is so
even that.
Of what's arrived so far, yes, it is a matching manifest.
He's double checking it, and he's going to double check tomorrow as well.
There is also a receipt for a full refuel and atmospheric scrub of the ship. The fuel has been put in. The scrub is due tomorrow, where it will replace all of the essential atmospheric filters, pump out all of the old air that's still being recycled, and replace it with purified fresh air. All the stuff that Lasser is absolutely going to want to oversee them doing, but is essential for making a ship this old fit for long-term journeys, as part of your group.
If Lasser even glances at him like confused that he's doing work, said, "I've been tricked before in this situation, I'm not being tricked again."
Right, there's a nod of respect that she's going to let you get on with that.
One thing that wasn't on your list was medical supplies.
There will be some medical supplies.
Okay, Agatha is basically taking himself to somewhere to patch himself up at the minute.
There's none been delivered yet, but you did have some. When you went shopping, I'm allowing an allowance of the ship of 3 stim packs each saved on the ship. If you want any more, then we are going to start talking credits.
Okay.
Agatha's already used one on himself during the fight, but whatever supplies we've got, he's going to try and patch himself up with whatever supplies we had when we left.
Well, now you're back on the vessel. There is a medipack here if Lasser wants to do a first aid test as well.
Yeah, I'll call over to Agatha. If you want me to look at that, I can get this sorted.
Yes, please.
If you have a moment, could you please look at this laser burn on my leg?
Oh, I could help. Can I have a look?
Yes, of course.
Excellent.
It is a 2 difficulty check for Agatha, because you're under half your wound threshold, because you got pounded. The fact you've got a first aid kit means that you can do it at all.
All right, I've got 1 rank in medicine.
But you is quite clever.
Not using any force dice, but let's hope. So that's 3 straight success.
So that's 3 wounds healed.
Okay, brilliant.
You did better with the stim pack on your own.
It's only a simple test, a single purple for Oberon.
Okay. It's a bit weird because this isn't the sort of thing that Jiren usually does. You can tell he's doing it quite loudly and he's being very nursey. He is. Okay, roll up your... Oh, that looks very bad. Let's see what we can do. And he gives it a go, and that's 3 successes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's 3 wins back for you then as well. I imagine that Lasser finishes with Agatha, turns round begrudgingly and sees Jiren already doing it and kind of goes, "Fine, you have him."
He's wrapped him up a little bit too much, and here is a badge to say you have been very brave.
Thank you.
The last thing that I think you probably want to do is, Lasser, is make a final mechanics test to see how they've wired this in.
Yep, that makes sense. I want to check it all over.
Yep, that's mechanics test. The difficulty is going to be, can you flip me a dark side point? It's going to be 1 red and 1 purple.
So that's 1 success and 2 advantage.
Okay, this has been wired in absolutely correctly. The only thing that's a little unusual is that as well as being wired in to the Navicom that's on here and the piloting controls, because most good astromech docks have a pilot control override just in case, there is also a reasonably well hidden link to the comms system. It's very hard, it's not normal, and you only just noticed it. It really was a very subtle job, but that has been wired in through a backdoor into the full comms network.
Tren? Can I have a word with you quickly about the manifesto?
Of course you can. He wanders over with the datapad. I think we have too many biscuits.
I think we have too many connections here.
Just fill in the datapad about what you think we have.
Just writes down, someone has connected this to our communications line. Unusual engineering. Don't trust it.
Leave it until we leave. Don't change it now.
All right then. I'll look at replacing that part later then.
Okay, I agree. Too many biscuits. Never mind. We'll just have to eat more biscuits. And he saunters off.
And as night falls on Coldfire's mercy, and your day comes to an end,
Lasser is going to gather up the droid, go down to engineering, and close the door and let everyone know that she wants to be alone for a bit because she's got work to do. Closes the door very finally. If anyone goes up to the door, they will hear a bit of a clatter and some crying.
So it's just you and Tugger.
Sorry, the droid head, I should say.
Oh, the droid head.
Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Steve's head. Okay, so you take Steve's head into your engineering bay and lock the door securely. Tugger is quite content in his astromech dock at the moment.
Oberon makes sure that Mr. Sparkles and the new droid get on.
Yeah, they seem to. The benefit of the series of droid that Tugger is has a big flat disc head, which is just the right height and width for Mr. Sparkles to curl up on quite comfortably. It looks a little bit cold, and you might want to put a basket on top of that, but he seems quite confident at the moment.
Oberon, there's a cat in here.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I forget.
And unless anyone wants to do anything else particularly as the night falls in,
Agatha's just going to sit on his bed and recover.
then that is where we shall leave it for this session. One last thing before we leave you for this episode, and that is to do this episode shout out to one of our backers. As we said last time, we've rearranged our Patreon if you want to come and support the show at patreon.com/forcemajeurepod. And this episode's backer is Brendan. Brendan was one of our first backers and also was the executive producer and player on the last season of Dice for Brains, which will be season 8, I think, in case you're listening to us from the future and Dice for Brains have restarted. That was a very interesting series, really, really good fun. I think it's now off Twitch, but hopefully that'll be available on podcast format soon. And Dice for Brains, as you know, is one of the big influences behind our show. So that's pretty awesome, really. Thank you very much, Brendan, for listening and for your support. And we will leave you there. See you next time. Thank you for listening. Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Fantasy Flight Games and Lucas Books. Our intro music for this season is Unholy Night by Kevin MacLeod, and our outro music remains Suburban Outlaw by Forget the Whale, both used with gratitude under the Creative Commons license. If you like the show and want to interact with us, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, all of which are at Force Majeure Pod, though Twitter is probably where you're going to find us more regularly. If you enjoy what we do and want to support the show, there's 3 ways you can do that. The first is via our Patreon at patreon.com/forcemajeurepod. The second is by buying us a coffee at ko-fi.com/forcemajeurepod. And the third way is by rating and reviewing us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere where you can find us. We really like reviews. It tells us that we're telling the stories that you want to hear and helps other people find us. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.